I just wanna dance all night. I'm all messed up, I'm so out.
Oh, Jake, it's music to my
Hello.
ears. It's music to my
Yeah.
ears, Jake.
Can you explain what this song is? Because I don't know. I don't know all the lore.
Yeah, the Phillies are on right now in
Okay.
the National League Championship Series, which is the series
that's-
right before the World Series.
Yeah, and
Baseball.
that's curling, right? The Phillies.
Yes.
Okay, baseball. Okay, good.
Yeah, that's right.
And yeah, last year, so we have this. By the way, Stephen Hackett is here. We've been waiting millennia to have you on this show. How's it going, Stephen?
It's good. Baseball's not my jam.
That's okay.
It's kind of boring.
It's good. Okay, I would go to I would go to bat for it. I will say that I would try it a little bit this year because the rule changes I think make it a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
It's a lot faster. It's condensed. There's more excitement, I will say.
Is it like now it's 4 strikes, but if after 3 you have to take your shirt off or something? Is like fun rules like that?
I mean, I don't
think that's it.
For the Phillies, that would be fun. And this is the point of this song is that so our backup catcher, he plays almost never, is a guy named Garrett Stubbs, and he just lives for a postseason run where he is constantly shotgunning beers and like being the number one fan of the team. And
wow.
Yeah, they got this song like in the locker room last year, so it became the song, and then we lost the World Series, and they decided let's just go for the song again to like avenge the World Series loss. So now it's great because we have a rabid fan base that goes to the games, and then no one leaves the stadium until everyone finishes singing that song, and then everyone goes home. So, and that's the song.
That's kind of a nice tradition. I can get behind that.
It's pretty wholesome, I'll be honest. We had a wholesome year.
There are worse things you could do. You know?
We had a very wholesome year. There was this one guy. We're going baseball heavy on this show. There was this one guy who was really struggling this year. He was like having a hard time. He was really down on himself. And then he just came up to bat one time, and the whole stadium gave him a standing ovation. And he turned his entire season around. And it's just very wholesome. So, yeah, baseball.
Yeah. You should have had Jason Snell on. He'll talk about baseball.
Yeah, I'll probably. Yeah, that would next time Jake's gone. I've already done one show when Jake was gone about cycling entirely. So the next time Jake's gone, I'll get Jason and we'll do only baseball.
There you go.
All right, Stephen, welcome to the show. Did you bring anything fun to drink out there?
I did. I don't drink, so I have a peachy sweet tea, which is I'm so bad at what direction things go.
You're an audio guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of sugar in this. There's like the sugar, and then there's the included added sugar. That's how you know it's going to be good. But I'm from the South. I live in Tennessee, but in the corner with Mississippi and Arkansas. So like, sweet tea it is.
Yeah, things get really sweet when you go down a little bit.
None of us actually have all of our teeth. You know, that's sort of like a Southern stereotype, but it's because of the sweet tea.
I went to Tennessee once, and that's where I learned that you need to specify that you want the iced tea to be sweet, otherwise it won't be, and then that's not good. So
it's gotta be
sweet. you got to be more specific down there. That's what I
need more adjectives. What do you got, Jake? What'd you bring?
I'm clearing out some old bottles that I'm trying to get rid of. So this is a concoction. This is the honey mead that I have with some brandy and lime juice. So it's like kind of weird, but it works. It's working for me.
Off the grid.
Yeah. You know, like your liquor cabinet, like you get some bottles and they get down, and then like sometimes you have like this much of something, and it's just like
gotta figure out what to do with it.
Like, what am I gonna do with this brandy? Like, I don't drink brandy ever. I have this bottle of, so I'm like, I'm gonna put it in this and see if it works. And it's working.
All right, good luck. I got another bottle of stick wine, or it's the same one, but I opened it last week, and here we go again. So, you know,
I admire the discipline. It's good. Yeah.
All right, we've got a lot of topics here, but
we do have a lot of topics. Yes.
First off, Stephen, you had a hell of a fundraiser, and we would love to hear about it. And now that you're beyond the mayhem.
Yeah, it was an amazing month. Each September, Relay FM, the podcast network I own and I'm on, we raise money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. That's the page. $775,000 this year. brings us at just shy of $3 million over the now 6-year commitment. And it's amazing, you know, our listeners, our community, I think the broader kind of Apple community, and then folks like yourselves, like, all get behind it. And so we had like 150 community fundraisers. So people, like exactly what y'all did, right? Like, hey, we're going to talk about this in our own way, and here's our page. And it's so humbling that so many people get behind this. And, you know, childhood cancer it's a terrible thing. And in your worst moments as a parent, St. Jude can be there and say, hey, we're going to not only treat you with the best science research and doctors on the planet, but we're not going to bill you for any of that either. So transportation, meals, and care are all free for St. Jude patients and their families. And that's only possible because folks like y'all open your wallets and give. So it's really humbling just to be a conduit for that work and to help spread their message.
Yeah, you guys really crushed it. It's like the numbers on there are just fantastic. It's good to see.
Yeah, I mean, I look at those numbers. It's like it's like hard to comprehend, especially this year, right? It's hard out there for a lot of people right now, and for us to be 10% higher than we were last year by the end of the month, that's incredible. I mean, I certainly didn't expect that, and it was just a wild ride. You know, September is a long, hard month. We have all the fundraising. We also have Apple events. Like I went to the iPhone event this year. So like in the middle of the campaign, it's like, I got to go to California for 2 days. I'll be back, you know? After all of that, like that hard work and that time, to be able to celebrate such a high amount of money raised is like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I never heard if like what your vibe was when St. Jude also became a central focus in the space community for a while, when it was around Inspiration 4 and everything. Like, you know, how does that feel to have that still? I mean, even now with Polaris program, it's out there still on that page, right?
Yeah, I actually interviewed Jared Isaacman and the crew of the upcoming mission. They're going to actually have the first commercial spacewalk. And even though Inspiration 4 with Haley Arsenault, who's a St. Jude patient survivor, she works there now, and she's incredible. I've gotten to meet her several times, and like, she's just the most amazing person. But Jared Isaacman and his team are still raising money for St. Jude. So it was amazing to get to talk to them. And the podcastathon, our 12-hour live show, sort of the highlight of the fundraiser for us, at least. That interview played, I think, in the back half of that show. And getting to talk to Jared and his crew about what they're going to do, right? They're going to make history with the first commercial spacewalk, you know, if everything goes well. But to talk to them about that, but how excited they were about that, they were just as excited about meeting families at St. Jude and being involved with that mission. And I think that says so much about Jared and his organization and the people around him with the Polaris project. It was really inspiring to get to talk with them and play a tiny part in it. But definitely wild that St. Jude was going to space. Like, I had heard that they were working with, that they want to do something big that, going into that year. And I knew Jared Isaacman had been around, but I never would have guessed that it was going to be as successful as it was.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting to see how, what are we, like 2 years after Inspiration 4 now? Mm-hmm. And like St. Jude still has now, it's like the de facto space charity now. When we posted this, like, we're doing this thing with Relay FM on the St. Jude fundraiser. And like instantly our listeners were like, oh yeah, St. Jude, that's what we do. We're space fans. We give money to St. Jude now. like the fact that they've kind of like established that as sort of the charity in waiting, a charity in residence for space fandom is pretty fun.
No, it's really cool. And in September, when we were doing all the fundraising stuff, Mike Hurley, my partner, and I, and then Jason Snell and Kathy Campbell from Relay, we all got to tour the Inspiration 4 building at St. Jude's campus. And it's a research building. Although they have this like really cool cafe in the first floor. It's got a lot of great stuff. But the stairs above that are where the science happens. And getting to meet these researchers and these scientists who are they're literally doing their life's best work at St. Jude on behalf of these kids and kids around the world with cancer. It's like inspiring the same way being Jared Isaacman is, right? It's these people who are really operating at a high level, the best in the world at what they do, but their heart is here in Memphis for St. Jude and these families. It's pretty sweet. I don't know what it takes to get a building named after you, but Inspiration 4 definitely deserves it.
Yeah.
Fat stacks.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
A couple more
Takes a lot of
fundraisers, you're in the
dollar
ballpark
bills,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we joked once that we just want it was like Relay FM like name like above a bathroom or something like.
Yeah. The
You
Relay
gotta start
FM
somewhere.
cubicle,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Water
what,
cooler this year, bathroom
yeah,
next
maybe
year.
it's like a hose, faucet in a parking garage, like whatever it, I'll take it.
I feel like the PA system, you could do the Relay FM PA system. In
That
the
would
hospital.
be
Pretty
cool.
on brand. Switch on,
Yeah.
baby.
Switch on. Yeah. Maybe, they used to have, we used to actually be friends with the woman who was the PA announcer in the hospital itself. And she had been there, I forget, like decades. Like it was her life's work being the announcer in the hospital. And so we got to know her because she was at the front desk. So she's like the first person you'd see, which I think was really smart. It's like the first person you meet, that's whose voice you hear throughout the day if like something's going on. But when she retired, they threw a party. Like, again, someone doing their life's work. But maybe we could get Mike in there. Maybe we can squeeze him in a day next year. It's like, we have this special PA announcer
Just
that
the
no
PA
one would
guy.
be able to, parse it. But I think it'd be fun.
What's the lift? Take the lift to where? What am I doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
His verbiage would be all screwed up.
That's right.
Oh wow.
Well,
British
Cool,
people,
yeah.
they exist.
y'all are crushing it. And
congrats.
I'm sure, I know for a fact that there are a bunch of people that listen to the show that are Liftoff fans out there.
Oh, yeah.
And now you're kind of in this era where it's like special episodes only and not a recurring thing.
Yeah.
And that's been real fun. So I'm curious how you're, like, what kind of stuff you're following, what are you interested in? It's a lot of historical stuff, but I don't know if, as we get closer to Artemis 2, if you're thinking of more current stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, so for Liftoff, we were every other week for years. And then we did really what I'm proudest of on that show is the 50th anniversary look backs at the Apollo missions. And we didn't just do the crude missions that everyone thinks of, right? It's like super interesting. The first time they flew this piece of hardware, like, would it work? All those early missions. But yeah, we just kind of got to a point where Jason and I had other projects that needed more attention. So Liftoff is sort of in this, it's not retired, but it's not regular. We're talking about doing maybe an end of the year recap. Definitely though, with Artemis 2, we want to talk about that. In terms of what I'm keeping up with, it's a lot of stuff I was doing when I was doing the show regularly, right? So I paid a lot of attention to the Osiris-Rex return, which, I mean, if we can just step back for a minute, what an amazing story, right? Like we went off, we captured this material, and then it just sets down in the desert. Like that's amazing. Obviously keeping up with everyone's favorite SLS, Eric Barger had some reporting, I think earlier this week, about like this idea that NASA had that the SLS construction be offloaded to a company and then they would like buy the rockets at the end of the construction period. It's like, oh, it's going to cut cost. Yeah, I think they said in half.
50%, yeah.
What a number. All right. And that's basically what the GAO said. They came in
Very
like,
realistic number too. Like,
yeah,
somehow
yeah,
they nailed it at 50%.
A scientifically achieved number. Yeah.
Just crushed it.
They
Yeah,
ran a
but
lot of math, and it just came out round at 50%. It was amazing how that happens. Yeah,
You got to make math easy for Congress, So the inspector report came out and was like, no, man, like that number is unrealistic and the numbers are probably going to go up. And so, SLS, I mean, I know y'all have talked about it. We've talked about it, but the limbo that program has been in, the program started, over a decade ago. They've flown once. They're so far over budget and over time budget, like it doesn't even make sense. Like it's just unreal. And I think Eric wrote this. Someone did a few years ago, but basically it was like SLS, a rocket with nowhere to go, because it's coming up in this era where NASA can fly a Falcon Heavy for a percentage of the cost, right?
Per this report, the price of one engine on
Yeah.
SLS.
I mean, what in the
Almost
world?
exactly.
Yeah, the scale difference there is really
if
bad.
there's only one thing Eric Berger is fantastic at, it is the most amazing price analogies you've ever heard of.
Yeah.
he will cast a price in a narrative you've never even thought of.
Yeah, that division wasn't in the OIG report, but
no.
boy, did it work out well when you did the division.
Yeah. Maybe he'll be quoted next time. But it's just fascinating to watch this because the SLS program is a child of Congress, right? Ultimately, everything in the NASA budget is, but SLS touches all 50 states just about. It's got people and suppliers everywhere. And so it'd be super unpopular to kill it politically, but we can fly SpaceX for a whole lot less money, and we can, with that savings, do untold amount of other things. And so I don't know where it goes. I mean, it's a mess.
The interesting, most of these OIG reports, I'm like, yeah, like we nailed it. Like, you know that saying about how the Supreme Court is downstream of culture? I don't know if anyone's heard this saying before, but that they will ratify like the vibes of the American public 10 years after the fact. And I feel like the OIG is kind of that for space nerds, where it's like, we've been talking about that for years. Yeah. But this one had the kicker of the agency may soon have more affordable commercial options to carry humans to the moon and beyond. That stuff that was always the undertone of the other reports, but it was never specifically stated. So I do feel like that is a notable aspect there, that OIG is willing to put that to writing now rather than just that being between the lines.
Yeah, this report felt way spicier than the other ones.
Even the but at what cost? What was that one, Jake? The what at what cost?
Oh yeah.
But at what cost?
I don't remember, but I remember
that was the one that came out when we were on the Artemis 1 trip, I think, right?
But at what cost?
Yeah.
That's right. It was like a few days before the launch, right?
Oh wait, here it was. It was this tweet. I found the tweet. It was literally the day, August 27th, 2022. T minus 2 days to launch. NASA says we are going, but at what cost? See our audit. The agency's cost estimating.
That's brutal.
So, with the picture, with the we are going picture. Like, this was the best. This was peak Twitter right here. This was in the days where it was Twitter. It was peaking. This was the moment. Just unbelievable.
From a federal government account. Let's not lose sight. But it wasn't one of the three of us angry at NASA on Twitter.
Yeah. It became us three later, but
I was like, no, we're a federal agency, and we've hired this intern to burn you down on Twitter.
2 p.m. scheduled 2 p.m. August 27th, but at what cost? Unreal.
Scheduled, Loaded this up in the Hootsuite and got it rolling out at 2 p.m.
God, so good.
Man.
So I do feel like this one is making some. All the other ones before this were the same one 5 times in a row, just like with the schedule rolled forward a few years. This one at least started to be like, let me actually explicitly state things. What that does, though, because actually what this does is that like NASA has to respond to these all the time and post like, we concur with points 1, 6, and 7, but not 1, 2, and 4 or whatever. So they do write these things, and NASA has to acknowledge them officially, which is good. They didn't have to do that for the tweet. But.
The tweet's the cherry on top. I do wonder if that, again, going back to that 50% budget thing, that not only paints the SLS project in a bad light, but also whoever came up with that plan and then put numbers to it, right? And I wonder if all the talk about how long and how much money that they've taken, all that stuff, that maybe that's worn out a little bit in people's minds. Like, like you said, like we've been talking about this forever. But when you see this plan they had to save money and how it's going to go the other way, like that feels like a different level of issue to deal with. And I wonder if this may get more traction in the community, or maybe even, in the minds of Congress members of like, oh, we need to look at what's going on here, as opposed to just like shoveling money to it like coal into a fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys watch Saturday Night Live at all? Are you SNL people?
Occasionally. It's on pretty late.
We're
old now. I would say
children in this department.
There was during like the peak like Trump years when like things were just like is escalating every day. Like it just every day felt like it was worse than the day before. And they did like this like silly talk show thing where the talking heads are doing that. It's like, this is unprecedented. A president has never done, and then they just like spout off some wild and crazy thing. And then they had Keenan in the background of every statement. He'd go, ain't nothing gonna happen. And it's like, yeah, but like, listen, this is unprecedented. This is the thing that's finally gonna do.
Yeah, we got him this time.
Yeah. That's what I feel about these OIG reports. Ain't nothing gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, hypothetically, if Congress were in a position to be debating budgets, maybe, but that's not looking like that's gonna be. It's gonna be a while.
This is a happy place. We can stay happy.
We can stay happy. And you know what we did, Stephen? We watched a bunch of really, really incredibly shitty space movies. And we'd like to bring a report to you. What I think we should do is we are going to report to you these 4 movies that we watched. And then we are each going to lobby for which one you should watch because we feel different.
Okay.
And so you are going to be assigned homework to at least watch one movie.
All right. My fate is in your collective hands.
Yeah. These were bad movies, Jake.
Ooh, okay, so yeah, I was telling Anthony before the show, I had like my notes app open on my iPhone as I'm watching these, because I'm just like, I want to just like throw thoughts in there so that I didn't forget them, because like 4 movies and like I watched them over 4 days. It was like 4 movies in 4 days. I'm not gonna remember any of them, so I'm like throwing these thoughts into this notes thing, and I just opened it up today to like before the show to read it, and it is like an unhinged fever dream of the wildest stuff. Like I'm reading this list, I'm like, this happened? I'm like, oh my god, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. And so I'm excited to dig into these. I don't know where it's going to go because I have too many to talk about. So there's going to be like some extra gems for later. I don't know what we do with all this content.
Let me talk high level, because I feel like sci-fi movies tend to fall in one of 2 buckets, where you care only about the plot or you care only about the characters. That's sort of the breakdown, right? And that's how I sort them. There are some of these movies, nothing progressed in the plot. There was no advancement of my understanding of the physics of the world they were inhabiting. All I knew was this one dude missed his dad so bad, and that was it. Like, Ad Astra was that was a real good take on Ad Astra.
Yeah, it really was.
And then other ones only advanced the plot, and I had no idea who anyone was or why I should care that they got blown out of an airlock. I don't know which is worse, though.
Yes, that is a great way to put it. Although I will say that, like with Dad Astra, there were also characters that I didn't really know what they were, and I didn't care that they got blown
You cared about
out of an
none.
airlock.
Stephen, you care about no characters in this movie except Brad Pitt. I don't even know what his name was. McBride or something? I don't know. He's the only character. The whole thing is him doing a series of psychology narrations about himself. It wasn't even like a therapist situation.
I'm going to have to do a psych evaluation after this episode for sure. Yeah.
Listen, all I'm saying is I went in year order. So I watched Jake did some of my homework. We were supposed to watch 2 movies shared and 1 movie separately because we didn't want to watch 4 movies. Jake watched 4 movies. So I was a little bit annoyed at Jake doing my homework. I watched Starflight 1 from, I think that was 1983. I watched Solar Crisis, which happens to be on YouTube in full length. And I didn't know that until after I paid money for Solar Crisis, which is from 1990. And then I watched Ad Astra, which was from, I don't know, 2015, 16, something like that. 13, I don't know which. High-level thoughts. Starflight 1 was... There are just... technological plot points in this that are absolutely hilarious, okay? The premise of this is that they're taking a hypersonic flight from Palmdale to Sydney, Australia, okay? And I knew things were off to a good start when they had these cutscenes that would then say what town or city they were in for this scene.
That's
and they
important.
Cut to the Saturn V rolling out to launch Complex 39, and it said Sydney, Australia. And that was that was the cutscene. In 1983, a complete who doesn't know what the Saturn V is in 1983? If this was 2083, maybe. 1983, you were a decade on from that being seen on the launch pad. Sydney, Australia, okay? Now, this flight proceeds to go horribly wrong in every possible way, and they are visited, again, in the course of Palmdale to Sydney, they ended up in orbit. Spoiler alert. We're doing all spoilers this time, so hope you're good with that. This flight got visited by Space Shuttle Columbia 3 times in like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Just dropping by, just like seeing how
Yes,
they were doing.
they would fly up and do a thing, come back down, and then get back
like
up.
delivery
And
runs, up and down, up and down, up and down. It was amazing.
unbelievable. So again, think of the timing. 1983. This was made probably was written before Shuttle even flew, and they just bought in on the same projections that you and I are complaining about now for SLS. Like that, they totally went all in on it.
We can fly it over and over and over. It's totally fine. It's like,
They didn't read a single OIG report back then.
no, well, they weren't spicy back then. They're only spicy now.
Yeah. They needed Twitter before they were spicy. So
It's true.
Also, Stephen, you've played Kerbal Space Program, I believe.
Play is a strong word.
Yeah,
but
you've
yes.
experienced it. You've experienced it.
Yes.
Starflight 1 is a vehicle from Kerbal. I will pull up a photo. I'm pretty sure.
I didn't think about this. But
Isn't this just why can't I never make Google images show me the actual
Mark
image?
II cockpit.
It's the Mark II. It's totally the Mark II. It's 100% the Kerbal Mark II fuselage system.
Yeah, just right there.
Yeah, pretty incredible.
Wow.
So
they had a big budget for special effects, is what you're saying.
well, so that's where we get to here, Stephen. Momentarily, they end up in orbit. Rockets fire too long. Momentarily, they're like, we're gonna go all in on zero gravity just to show people that everything's in free fall. So
right.
shit starts floating around the cockpit. There's people. There's bags. The Precious Metals Corp, who had a bunch of cargo in the cargo hold. It was literally called the Precious Metals Corp. Was what it was stamped as.
Wonder what they do. I wonder what's in that box.
But they were it said like top secret over there. And it was just wood boxes that hold gold bars. It's incredible. Yeah. So there's a moment.
There was no point to that.
Nothing. No. A moment of weightlessness, and then for the rest of the movie, for an hour and a half at a minimum, everybody walked around like they were stumbling, they were holding on to stuff, like if just turbulence is what they thought walking around in free fall was like. It's major turbulence trying to go to the bathroom in the middle of a really bumpy flight. So I don't know.
We need to stress the point of that. The zero G acting in this movie is something to remember for the rest of your life. It is wild. It was amazing. It was incredible. Yeah. I just can't say anything more amazing about how funny it was to watch these people try and simulate zero G.
Yeah, and again, this was a movie. This was one of the variants of only advance the plot, never care about anyone.
Okay, so here's what I have to say about that part, but not caring about anyone. How messed up was it that they had the pilot had like a wife that he was cheating on, and then like they just like throw her out of the story. It's just like they like introduce her to like almost like create some sort of like empathetic like storyline, like there's tension in this marriage, and then he's just like, nah, I'm done with you, and then just leaves her, and then it just ends like there's no resolution to it.
Like that page fell out of the back of the binder. It's like, oh no, how did this scene end? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. There's no like reconciliation or like a fight. It's just like he just leaves her, and then she isn't important to the story at all.
Yeah, that's a pretty great movie.
Oh man,
I'm gonna go to bat.
You've convinced me of that.
Yeah,
but,
no,
okay.
I'm just gonna say this is the one that you should watch of all these movies for sure.
Okay.
It's a vision of the future, is what I'll say. The rest are not. This one's a vision of the future.
Yeah.
So.
Aravel in the chat says one of the writers was projecting.
Yeah, might have been. Yeah.
Makes me sad. A real life love triangle situation going on.
Yeah.
Before we move on though, I have to ask Anthony, did you catch that there is now a new definition for where space starts?
Oh yeah, they were pretty fast and loose with where space. What was it? 450,000 feet.
450,000 feet was where they said space starts. That's 137 kilometers. So now we've got 3 on the board. We got the McDowell line at 70-ish, 80-ish. We have the Kármán line at 100, and we have the Starflight 1 line, the Lee Majors line at 137 kilometers.
Wow. Blue Origin not happy. Not happy about that.
No, like, dang it, we're so close.
Blue Origin is banning this movie. They're going to remove it from Amazon Prime now.
We got to get it canceled. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a cancel culture movement on this movie.
Oh man.
That's so good. That's really funny.
Yeah.
I didn't do the conversion.
No,
all right.
right away I knew, so I did the math. Yeah.
Jake, I'm gonna let you be the reviewer of Solar Crisis, but I just want to read. I want to read Stephen the synopsis of this movie and see if you can help me. Like because I read this and I was like, we got to watch this movie because I had no idea what this meant. So now having known that, I would like to see if you could fill in some of the details.
Okay.
All right. A huge solar flare is predicted to fry Earth. Astronauts must fly to the sun to drop a talking bomb, in parens, Freddy, at the right time so the flare will point somewhere else. What do you think a talking bomb means?
Yeah, I was gonna say, why does the bomb talk? That's upsetting because you know what's in his near future. So like you're making a friend, and you're gonna lose a friend. That's sad.
Yeah.
So I definitely have a problem with that. I also, how close to the sun do you have to be? Because
All the way.
All the way at the sun.
All the way to the sun.
Pretty close.
Well, we have to build the SLS then. That's the only thing that can do it.
There's one way there. All right. So what if I told you that Freddy was a budget ass version of HAL 9000 in an antimatter bomb?
Okay.
That's what Freddy is.
That's upsetting.
This was the first movie written by ChatGPT. It is a complete amalgamation of all the movies from the 70s to 90s. All of them.
So what year did it come out?
1990.
Do we think that this basic storyline inspired Armageddon? Because it's kind of the same thing. Something's coming to Earth. You got us in astronauts. Magic has to happen. And the Earth is saved.
That's highly plausible. Like,
it's possible.
Because this has everything. This has all the tropes. This has this kind of command center where they're giving out orders, right?
Whoa,
like you always got to have
Wars.
right. You've got to have the thing that can project a globe. What is that even?
The like CIC here going on, whatever that is, right? Like,
you got to have that. You got to have. There's a total '90s nude scene, complete out of left field, like
Oh boy.
'90s nude scene. There's this. Everyone was sweaty because you had to go all the way to the sun, so everyone was
hot.
sweaty the whole time.
Yeah.
yeah, it's hot.
So I kind of feel like you might be. I think you nailed it. I think we could probably not even remove this movie, Jake.
This movie would have been a lot more fun if it wasn't like interspersed with like the cringiest, inappropriate '90s lines like every once in a while. Like
Yes.
it was a totally fine movie, and then it was like like Tim Matheson, who's like an actor I like really like. At Skytown, yeah.
Skytown,
and he would just be like, "Oh, we got a hot new girl on the crew. I'm gonna creep her Facebook on the computer and just like look at her face on the computer." And there's just some lines in this that you're just like, "No, you can't say that out loud in a professional environment. What are you guys doing? Like, this is supposed to be the future."
Yeah.
So
a future without HR, maybe.
Yeah, this is one that didn't age very well in terms of its social standing.
Yeah, there's a Mad Max. There's like a Mad Max middle to this as well.
Yeah, what the heck is with all that? Like Jack Palance like shows up and he's like, "I'm the crazy guy," and then like I'm this.
My favorite part, the reason I think this is a ChatGPT movie, is that the villains are just an unnamed corporation who are betting on the solar flare not happening, right? But Stephen, if you were a giant corporation, if you were if Relay was basically Walmart at this point, and you thought everyone was lying to you and the solar flare wasn't going to happen, what would be your course of action with regard to the mission to avert the disaster?
I mean, you would want to make sure it didn't happen, I guess, right?
Why? I thought you'd think it's not happening.
Yeah,
that's what I can't figure out. They they're sabotaging it, but they think it's not happening.
Look, Anthony, you just don't have the big brain that Ray Romano's dad, Elon Musk, has. Okay, you just don't have the insight into how the world works in order to get ahead. Okay.
yeah. Who knows how big corporations think, right?
Yeah, it's wild. It's a good one. I don't know if I can recommend this one.
It's a horrible movie. That's completely awful.
Yeah.
I wish I would never have seen it. Please describe to me, Jake, why Moonfall was good. You loved Moonfall.
I did. Okay. So, I mean, I have a bit of a reputation for like jumping on like weird, bad space movies. So I'm a huge, I count The Core as a space movie, even though it goes to the middle of the earth. But that one, I'm a big fan of The Core. And I also really love Geostorm, which was like a terrible space movie, but it was incredible. And I think Moonfall is like the third on that list. I think it's not as good as the other two, but I think it makes that top 3 list because it's just got okay. So Moonfall is, if I had to give you like a one-line synopsis for space fans, it's like, this is a movie where there was someone in charge of the movie was there to just get a job done. Like they're mailing it in. I'm a movie maker, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, I make movies. And they didn't really have a lot of like thought into it. And then the person immediately under that manager was a hardcore space fan. That's what this movie is. Okay.
Good tension. Very good tension.
So like you can see like the manager being like, okay, listen, what I need you to do is I need somewhere, we need to launch a space shuttle. I don't know where you do that. So just, can you give me some pictures of where it would be a fun place to launch a space shuttle? And this guy's like, we're bringing Vandenberg back, baby. This shuttle launch from Vandenberg's going to happen. And they're carting out all the old pictures of like the sliding like house that they had for it. And
fog everywhere.
There's all this wild shit just like that, where you're just like, yeah, only a space fan would have put that into the movie. You just know. And so that is kind of like the big reason I love this movie, because you can just tell.
This is straight up. Like,
look at that.
That's it.
A space fan concocted that. 100%.
Yeah, that's
like
a really close office building.
Yeah, it is.
Super close office building.
They're going to lose some windows, probably.
And
that's going down.
Yeah. Where they bring spoiler, they bring Endeavor out of retirement. You know, they pull it out of the space center in California, like, and they literally go there. Like, they have the scene in the thing, and they like, and it's like all like graffitied. So it's something says like "fuck the moon" on the side of it. It's hilarious. It's so funny. And so they
very realistic.
They cart the shuttle out of retirement, and they even have the scene where they're driving it through the streets of Los Angeles. Like, it's totally a space fan.
Did they have that one photo of the 2 kids playing basketball that didn't even know it was driving by? Like, that's always gets posted.
It was like kind of the same idea, where it's just like some people were just like out and about in their business, and they're like, "Get out of the way! There's a space shuttle coming." So I don't know. I thought it was fun. I also like that there was like, it's like kind of like there's a very harmless conspiracy theory that comes true in this movie, and it's like kind of fun. So it's like not a bad conspiracy theory, but like just like kind of a weird fun one that doesn't hurt anybody. And it just comes true. And it's like, they were describing the theory. It's about the size of the moon and why a solar eclipse can happen, right? And it's like, wow, that's pretty weird that the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun, and the sun is 400 times farther away than the moon, and so we can have eclipses. That's a coincidence? I don't think so, right? And I was like, hey, yeah, that is weird. Why is it that we're the only place in the whole solar system that can have eclipses? That's kind of weird. So I was into that.
Real talk, though. This movie's about the moon being hollow or something?
The moon is a megastructure.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Because that's like, you're talking about the harmless conspiracy theories out there. I just feel like this one's getting a little too close to the sun of a real conspiracy theory. That's and it makes me uncomfortable, and I've avoided it because of that. That's all I'm saying.
No, it's fun, and it gets weird near the end. You're just like, oh, okay, that's where we're going with that. All right, but it was fun. It was a lot of weird stuff going on in there.
You like the disaster sci-fi movies, is what you like.
I do. I'm a huge end of the world movie fan. Like Day After Tomorrow, Armageddon, Deep Impact. I love all of those movies where just like it's the end. Yeah. So this is one of those. Yeah.
What was the other one? What's the earthquake one?
San Andreas.
I guess so. What was 2012 then?
That's like the.
Is that the Mayan thing?
Some end of the world thing. Yeah, I don't know.
That was the Mayans, right? 2012.
Sure. Aztecs?
You should know. You're like right there.
I think it's Aztecs.
It was?
Maybe.
Somebody.
Yeah. Steven, what's your favorite of these, like... All right, give us your favorite good space movie and your favorite bad space movie.
My favorite good space movie.
Like kids come to you tonight and they're like, Dad, we want to watch some space
Yeah.
movie. What are you throwing on?
I know what I would want to throw on. They would rebel, but the was it named just Apollo 11, the documentary with the classic footage?
Oh yeah.
I saw it in IMAX and it was
Yeah.
just
Unreal.
mind blowing.
That's the first thing you're putting in your Apple Vision Pro.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. It's like
Yeah.
705 everywhere. So yeah, I mean, I don't think they would particularly enjoy it, but I sure did when I saw it. And not just because work paid for tickets, because I think we talked about it on Liftoff, but I need it for my work. Worst favorite space movie. I have a worst favorite like nature movie, which is Twister.
Oh, classic. Yeah.
I've read somewhere that there's
That's
like,
a kindred spirit with these movies that we watched.
yeah, it sounds like
yeah.
it. I mean, you
Plot
gotta drive
advancement
your-
only.
Yeah, you got to drive your Toyota pickup truck into the tornado before the other guy does. It's like,
Yeah.
cool.
Spoken like a
honest-
guy with experience. Am I right?
Hey,
Ouch. Too
there's a
close to the
Toyota
sun.
sitting in my driveway.
Yeah.
It has not been in a tornado.
No.
Honestly, I try to avoid bad space movies because I'm sure, like y'all, once you're sort of in that mode of like, this is wrong, it's like I at least kind of lose the fun some. So that said, so I haven't seen very many, but what is the one? Is about the space station like breaking up?
Gravity.
Gravity. There's just
Steven,
this
I love you,
famous
man.
scene, right, where
I
they're
love
spinning
you.
around.
Yes.
That I don't even know if people consider that a bad space movie, but
It's horrible.
it
It's
was
the
not,
worst.
it was not for me.
Gravity is so bad. And I was so
It's pretty.
I was so triggered by it that the place where I worked at the time, my coworkers bought it on iTunes for me as like buy it as a gift option and send it to me.
Just looking at your email, you're just like,
Yeah.
I'm being bullied by somebody
Yeah.
who is
I
doing
was-
this to me.
Oh my God. So it's forever in my iTunes library. They YouTubed me with Gravity, and it's just always there. When I get a new device, it's in there.
It's incredible. It's like when Apple gave YouTube music away to
Yeah.
everybody.
They
Like,
totally did that to me.
yeah, that's terrible. I'm glad you don't work there anymore.
So talking about like inaccuracies. So like one of the fun things about Moonfall is that when they bring Endeavor back, it's like invincible. Like this shuttle goes through hell and back, and it just keeps working until it finally is destroyed. But one of the fun this plot point like endeared me to the movie. So they launch from Vandenberg, and there's like this tidal wave coming in, and it's like trying to launch before the wave. So they're blasting off, and it's like splash water as it goes up. And then like one of the engines was already broken, so they only launched 2 SSMEs, and then like one of the solids goes out, and it just like keeps on plucking on, like it just keeps going. And they use because the moon is falling and it's like very close to the Earth, they just like use the moon's gravity pull to launch. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I love it. Endeavor, let's go. Let's launch with the moon's gravity.
That was
as
a
an
gravity
extra
assist
stage.
launch? What?
Yeah, it was a gravity assist launch. It was the
Yeah.
best. I
The
was
tension
like,
between
this
the
is
manager and the assistant manager that you're talking about was palpable in that moment.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, if
The
you make me
big
do a
boss is like,
tidal
"This
wave,
would work."
hit the shuttle, I will do this.
Oh, it'll 100% work, boss. We can do this. We can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'll be
it was
totally
great.
close enough. It'll be fine.
I think the one thing I left out of my reviews on this note of accuracy was the complete wanton disregard for the Saturn V in these movies. I mentioned the one cutscene of Starflight 1 about how Saturn V is pulling out in Sydney, Australia, clearly
Yeah,
Florida. It was launching a satellite for yet another unnamed corporation who was trying to take over the world or something. It was a Saturn V launching a satellite that then they destructed because it was going poorly. Okay, that was one.
Wow.
The other one on Ad Astra
And they
was
called
that
it a Delta. They called it a Delta rocket.
they did call it a Delta rocket. Oh my god.
That's almost more insulting than using something
the guy,
way too powerful
the
for the
guy
job.
with like the terrible fake Australian accent called it a Delta.
Yes. Also
He's like,
incredible.
hello, mate. Yeah, the rocket, the Delta, it's not working. You know,
Yeah, they had time to call each other transatlantically because the flight was delayed on the other side of the world. Like, there was so much. But then the other time that the Saturn V appears in these movies is Ad Astra. I think it's when he's landing on Mars. There's like a scene where he's in a very Kerbal-looking vehicle. All the vehicles from Ad Astra were Kerbal Space Program. Like the designer, spacecraft designer, was in a heavy Kerbal phase.
Big and tall.
Yeah, which timeline-wise makes a lot of sense. Like that, I feel like that's a fairly accurate statement. Except for the Mars descent vehicle, the heads-up display in the vehicle where it was showing which way he's pointing is just a Saturn V drawing with, the full-on F1 engines at the bottom, and it does not look at anything like that.
Oh boy.
I'm just continually flummoxed by the idea that that's because to some extent, right? Like the space shuttle has that thing where it is iconically the space nerd thing. Like, oh, that is a space vehicle.
The shuttle saves the day in literally half of these movies. Like this is
because it's super cool, you know.
It is. Yeah. Where are you at on shuttle? Are you a shuttle stan?
The shuttle gave us amazing things, including Hubble International Space Station, but was a
lot of throat clearing.
A terribly flawed, terribly mismanaged program.
He's right here, Jake. This is why he's on the show.
So I love
it
it here, but up here, it's bad for you.
Yes.
I do feel this sort of like metaphysical connection, much like astronauts when they're flying to the sun, to the shuttle. I was actually born the day of the Challenger accident. And even as a little kid, I'd hear that from people or, my parents or whatever. I didn't really know what it meant until high school when I kind of read into it for the first time. Like found the, much of the reports online. Even back then you could, read them and stuff. And
way to call out yourself for being old.
Oh, dude.
Even back then I could read them.
I mean, I had to print them from the lithograph machine, but it was fine. But I was in high school in like 2000. I'm old. But having like digested that, like it gave us amazing things, but the cost was just too high. And I'm not even talking about the budget, right? But the fact that it lost 2 crews, it's unbelievable to me they flew it after Challenger. I mean, they didn't have any other option, and so they did it. And they did turn the tide for a while internally at NASA after that accident. So much about that accident was mismanagement, just straight up people making the wrong decisions. And I think they righted a lot of that for a while, but the shuttle's inherent delicacy, which I think is why all the movies make it hardcore, because it's like cool. But in reality, a very delicate and sensitive vehicle that was always going to catch up with it. And it's just, it's such a mixed bag. But
the way I like to think about shuttle, like for me personally, is how I think about it is 364 days a year. I'm like, this was a bad idea. And then the other day is when they reveal Atlantis at KSC and I cry. That is what shuttle is to me. That's the ratio.
Bringing this full circle, did you see that they are like the stuff is actually happening to reconstruct the on the launch pad experience at the California Science Center?
It's going to make it a lot harder for Endeavour to save the day one day.
Well, it'll be all ready to go. They just kind of throw it on the transporter and crawl it out.
No,
they'll make the roof open. You can open the roof, and then they can just shoot it right out of there.
Yeah, just pop right out of there. It's amazing. I mean, when you see a shuttle in person, I've been fortunate enough to see a couple of them. They're not very big. Like, I mean, they're big, but they're not.
I think they're way bigger than I thought.
Really?
I'm always blown. Even I've seen every one, and I've gone.
Stephen,
back
we're from
to
the
them.
U.S. Survey here, baby.
I'm still
we're
blown
like,
away.
No, me and you are. I'm saying, like, we're like, man, things are huge, and Jake's like, what is it?
Yeah.
It's got to be like a Cessna. How big could it be? It's just a space shuttle.
As big as Texas, whatever.
Make it more American. I don't know. That's interesting. We have different perspectives on that, but I think. If you think it's too big or too little, either way, like you start to look at it, you're like, this is the most hand-built thing I've ever seen. Like all the, I mean, seriously, I mean that both like yes, it was flawed, but also just the immense engineering and talent that went into keeping those safe as long as they did is incredible. But you get up closer, it's like, oh, all these tiles placed by hand, all this, the blanketing, all of it laid in by hand. And it's amazing how many people kept that thing going for so long, but definitely a mixed heritage, without a doubt.
In Starflight 1, they were able to replace those tiles and turn the whole thing around in 90 minutes. It was pretty impressive. So
that's the most ridiculous part of that movie.
Steven, no, it's not. No, it's not. I left out one detail. Okay, it made 3 trips to Starflight 1. All right, they were 45 minutes from their orbit falling apart, as the movie put it. Right, Starflight 1's coming back in. Got to figure out a plan. It doesn't have a heat shield. Figure out a plan. The third flight of Columbia is back on its way home to rescue the whatever individuals made it on that rescue flight, and they call up. Any chance we can get her up here one more time? They made a last minute call to see if the 4th was possible.
The fourth Columbia flight in a day. Yeah,
just wasn't quite possible. Like,
it's getting dark outside. We got to call it for the day.
Yeah, you should 100% watch Starflight 1. It's a completely ridiculous movie. I find the pure plot advancement of Starflight 1 superior to the pure plot advancement of Solar Crisis.
Okay.
I think introducing your children to what movies used to be like before you were born, this is a valuable way to do it. Because it's close enough to our era that there are special effects, but they're really funny. They're the funniest thing I've seen in my life.
Yeah. We could do a double heading that and Twister and really get them educated.
Yeah, just go to school,
You just need to make sure that you have a very serious conversation about what it means to be in a committed relationship and how you should treat people. Because it doesn't exactly translate from Starflight 1.
Yeah, that's good. Matthew in the chat says the shuttle is actually pretty small in person. So I got another vote for me. I think maybe one thing that affected that for me, I think it may depend on the first one you see. The first one I saw was Atlantis, which is in Florida at the Space Center. And you walk in, it is in a 2-floor like hangar, and when you see it, you walk in kind of on the second floor, so you're like eye to nose with it. Like you're kind of looking Atlantis in the face when you walk in, and it's tilted over so you can see into the cargo bay, and maybe that presentation makes it feel small.
It's like a MacBook Air, putting it on the wedge side in, right?
It's so thin on one side, But maybe if you see one that's sitting on its landing gear or upright, maybe it feels different.
Yeah, I saw Endeavor first, so maybe that's true. I don't know. Yeah, you had to walk underneath.
Current
it, right?
Endeavor.
So,
yeah.
Current Endeavor. Yeah.
How much graffiti was on it?
Yeah.
0 graffiti. It was well taken care of. Yeah. Yeah. Now it's hard to compete, Anthony. I think Starflight 1 is like, maybe you should watch both. We should watch Starflight 1. Listeners, watch Starflight 1 and watch Moonfall, and then tell us which one.
I'm going to watch Moonfall, but nobody should ever watch Ad Astra. It's a completely worthless movie. No. I thought, Steven, you'll connect with this on me. I'm like, the only thing I know about this movie is that people called it Dad Astra. Maybe this is going to hit different now that I'm a dad.
Yeah.
It didn't. It certainly did not. That guy was a bad dad.
There were so many parts of that movie that didn't matter. Like, if you think about it,
most of it.
Okay, so you got like what was the point of Don Sutherland in the whole movie?
He's Don Sutherland. That's the point.
His character was inconsequential. There was the whole moon buggy fight.
Yeah.
Didn't matter. There was like a baboon murder. Didn't matter. Like, there's just like a bunch of random stuff in there.
The moon buggy thing. Yeah, we're super advanced. We fly all the way out to Neptune. We fly everywhere in the solar system, but yet the lunar roving vehicle was perfected in the 1960s, and we've never rethought that design. And it could survive a jump off of a crater cliff, a flat spin, and land and be intact.
Those lawn chairs, they like tack welded onto that thing. I mean, it's perfect. You don't need anything more than that.
Yeah. That may have been the most American spacecraft ever devised.
Like, the lunar rover?
Yeah.
It is low key my favorite.
Folds up in the back of your F-150.
Yeah, you can fit it in your car, Steven. You could fit it.
Yeah. I just dropped my kids off to school in one. But when you get up close to one, or you look at detailed photos, again, it's like handmade, like the shuttle. but you're like, oh, this was handmade a long time ago. Like it's such an interesting, because the ideas are so wacky and they didn't know. I mean, the genius of it is they didn't really know what to expect, right? So they did all this testing and research. Like the wheels are a work of art, but then it's literally two like Walmart folding chairs on top. It's like this is an eclectic mix.
Yeah, it's a funny one.
The chairs. I never really thought about the chairs. Like you're putting this in a totally different perspective.
If you look at pictures, I mean, it straight up looks like folding chairs from the 60s and 70s.
God, this is blowing my mind right now, to be honest. Like, yeah, these are straight up like, yeah. These are just, yeah.
Look at that. Your grandma has that, It's like, it's
my God. And like the seat is made of. It looks like what were the Pipeworks was like the PVC thing that you could buy and build stuff out of.
Yeah,
this looks like Pipeworks. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I never really looked at the chairs.
Yeah.
I only ever just look at John Young being an absolute boss driving that thing.
Dude, I built an irrigation system in the backyard with PVC pipe. Looks just like that.
Yeah. Turns out, the year 2050, whatever, we're still driving around with those. So it's legit. Yeah. It's legit. I don't know. Stephen, don't waste your time. I like all of your other output, and I would like everyone else to enjoy it as well, so don't ruin your productivity. And
okay.
If you want, I can plug some things for you. Because I listen a lot of your shows in my podcast feed every week, and
thank you.
I sometimes feel like we're doing like a space ripoff of Connected every now and then. Connected's wonderful. You did have my other business partner on Mac Power Users, but you were not there that show, which I thought was a good decision to not be there when Ryan Ireland was on the show.
Yeah, I forget. Something came up that week, but yeah.
It was a good decision.
I've missed a few this year.
Yeah. What's your other, what else should people be listening to?
So Connected and Mac Power Users are both covering Apple. If that's not your jam, check out my show Ungeniused. I do it with my buddy Curly. It's like a 10-minute show every other week about something weird on Wikipedia.
That's what's up. I love Wikipedia rabbit holes. They're the best. Also,
yes,
512 Pixels. If anyone's into old websites.
More Apple stuff.
Classic website.
That website's 15 years old. It's hard to believe.
Back then, you could Google stuff about the Space Shuttle Challenger. So.
I could print it out.
If you want a weird Wikipedia rabbit hole to go down,
hit me.
There are separate articles for the monarchs of Commonwealth countries. So you can go to Wiki and go to the King of Canada, and you get an article about the King of Canada. It's the same stuff as the King of England because it's the same person, but there's an article about it.
They're just setting up for that post-Commonwealth future.
Land infrastructure warmed up. Let's go.
Like low-key rebels of all the Commonwealth countries over at Wikipedia.
Right. We're just keeping this URL available.
It used to be the Queen of Canada. Now it's gone. It says the Monarchy of Canada. I'm looking at it now because of old Chuck here. But anyway, it's weird. It's always weirded me out that this article has to exist. Anyway. That's your next episode.
It's weirded us out that you have a monarch, so that's where we'll leave it.
True.
Jake, what do we got going on here next week?
Next week. Put me on the spot. So next week, we have a really fun guest because we're talking about Artemis. We're going to the moon again. And we have Dr. Oz, Gordon Osinski, coming on to...
not that one. Not the one you thought of.
Good Dr. Oz.
Not my
Gordon
once
Osinski.
And maybe future senator from the great state of Pennsylvania, but the other one.
Oh boy.
No. So Gordon is a planetary scientist. He's Canadian, and he helps out with training all the astronauts about geology and how to do useful things when they go to the moon. So he's been involved in that for a long time. He's been named to the Artemis science team for the Artemis 3 landing campaign. So he's got a lot of control and insight over what the astronauts are going to do when they step out there. And we're going to talk science and moon stuff, and it's going to be awesome.
Cool.
And his website is spacerocks.ca. So
spacerocks.ca. Yeah.
That's a good URL.
Under the jurisdiction of the King of Canada right there, you can tell. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
Steven, you're the best. Thanks for hanging out with us and putting up with this. And we're happy to have we're not super high up on the leaderboard, but I was gatekeeping about the people above us on the leaderboard of the Relay FM
You totally were, yeah.
fundraisers. So I just will maintain that we are the highest on the leaderboard with the most distinct donation sources.
Awesome.
That's all I'm saying. So,
Yeah, no, thank you all for joining us in that, and everyone who donated and shared it. It's super cool to see these communities come together for a good reason.
Absolutely. And keep donating,
There it
even
is.
though the thing's over. St.
Go
Jude.
for it, yeah.
It's the
stjude.org.
space charity, right? So.
It is.
All right, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.
Go Endeavor.
I keep dancing on my